Welcome back to the NAIOP Solutions Series, the live online briefing program. My name is Sheila Vertino, and I'll be your host. Our main goal today, as always, is to provide you with some fresh insights, some practical tactics, and some positive strategies to help you succeed in today's tough business environment. Another one of our goals is to make the Solutions Series extremely relevant and responsive to give you what you need to know. And so we encourage you to drive the content. Let us know what topics and presenters you would like to hear from in future programs. You'll get a little questionnaire at the end, and that's a good place to put in some new ideas. And now let's get on with our program. Today's session is an interview with Tony Villasenor on the challenges and opportunities of redeveloping a shuttered auto dealership property. Our interviewer today is Ralph Murphy. Ralph is president and owner of Circle M Development, a Nevada limited liability company. The firm provides development services both for its own account and on a consulting basis for selected clients in the southwestern United States. Ralph is a good friend of NAIOP, and he has served on the NAIOP Corporate Executive Committee and is currently a member of the Mixed Use Development #1 National Forum. Thanks for joining us, Ralph.
Well, thank you, Sheila. And thank you for putting this program together. And listen, before we start, just a reminder, today is Veterans Day, so a thank you to all of you who have served our country in the past. It's a privilege for me today to introduce our speaker. Tony Villasenor is Senior Vice President in the Retail Division of Voit Real Estate Services in the San Diego area. Tony's a 29-year real estate veteran specializing in both landlord and tenant representation, as well as shopping center redevelopment and new development. Tony's completed over $1 billion in sales and lease transactions over the course of his career, and today he's going to provide some perspective on the automobile industry and the opportunity that exists because of all the dealerships that you all know have closed in the last year. So Tony, welcome to the NAIOP Solution Series.
Well, thank you, Ralph, and thank you for the listeners that are tuning in today. What I like to say to start off is what I do is not saving lives, and it's really not rocket science. It's really just understanding the markets that we're in and looking at opportunities for developers and for business people like yourselves to see if there's a way we can change communities and help communities in where you live in your municipalities. So what I'd like to start off by saying that we're seeing unprecedented times that all started really back in '06. My career has just been about selling a lot of land and getting involved in retail shopping center development. And along the course of the way, I found myself dealing with a lot of car dealership owners and swap meet owners for larger parcels, and because of their locations typically being along major freeways and arterials, I found myself involved in a lot of these land transactions, and that's what's brought me here today to talk about car dealerships and what's happened. It all started in September of '08. We had both Chrysler and GM filing Chapter 11. There were a lot of things that led up to that, in which most of you know, but I can save a lot of time by telling you just to go on the NADA, N-A-D-A website, and it's very interesting reading and what's happened with the car dealership manufacturers over the last few years. And I won't get into that now, but I can just tell you that because of those things, we're going to see somewhere in the neighborhood of 2,700 to 3,000 car dealerships closing over the next few years if this trend continues. Already we've seen 789 Chrysler dealerships closing and close to 2,000 General Motors dealerships closing, and that spells opportunity for us as developers. I'd like to talk about what will happen, I think, in the aftermath of the industry. So the next slide will show us that because of the economic crisis, which really is unemployment rate, gas prices spiking, all the issues that are related to that, I don't know if you knew that, but 1 in 10 jobs in the U.S. are auto-related jobs. And so one of the things that the National Association of Dealerships found out was it wasn't the dealer's fault. The manufacturers don't actually make more money because of less dealers out there. The only way they can make money is with dealers. So one of the things that the dealers are trying to do is get extensions and keep their dealerships open. So we will see. We may have a slowing down of the numbers of dealers closing over the next couple of years, but they think this year and possibly the first half of next year they're going to still see quite a few dealerships closing. And most of that, by the way, is concentrated east of the Mississippi. We're not seeing as many of them west of the Mississippi, and that's just because Detroit is where it all started. Most of the dealerships are concentrated in and around the Detroit area. But going down to what is probably the biggest issue is consumer financing. Without jobs, unless you had perfect credit, it was less and less ability to get loans for cars, and that translated into dealers not being able to get loans to put inventory on their floors. So the floor planning issue has become a major problem. The other thing that I'd like to hit on is municipalities. Most of the problem that we're having is that retail sales for most of the municipalities makes up about 20% of all U.S. retail sales are auto-related. So you're having an issue with sales tax revenue for these cities. In order to keep their police and fire protection going, they have to keep these dealers in business. There's other things that suffer as well. And sales tax revenue down, you get charitable donations that most of these dealerships are very involved in their communities with their sports teams and so on. It's a big loss to lose a dealer in a city. So how does that affect the developer, and what opportunities are there for the developer? Let me talk about some case studies.
Well, Tony, let me just step in here. Your slide shows 42% of all dealerships will be closed next year. Obviously, that is a significant opportunity for people to think about what to do with those. Here in Las Vegas, some of the first dealerships to close were brand new properties built on the new beltway that obviously were over leveraged, and they couldn't sustain themselves. And one would hope to find a viable reuse for a brand new quality building like that. But on the other hand, many dealerships are potential redevelopment properties in key infill locations. And so, yeah, tell us about what opportunities you're seeing out there.
Well, for example, one of the national board members for Ford, a Ford dealer, it happens to be a client of mine, and I had an opportunity to interview John McCallan this morning, and John's comment was that the last 3 years are really will tell the story. They measure numbers of units by numbers of cars sold. In 2007, 1.7 million units were sold. In 2008, that number dropped to 1.4 million, and in 2009, 1 million. So you can see the huge drops in numbers of units sold that has caused the problem that we're having. But what's going to happen is, if you look at the case studies now on your slide, is John McCallan's 19-acre Ford dealer is the first one on the left, and that's out in Riverside. That's a 19-acre parcel, and the trend is that most car dealerships are between 13 and 18 acres today. And John was saying that for now on, most car dealerships are only going to need 3 to 5 acres. And that's partially because the way cars are made now, they don't need the shop area that they needed in the past. They're not doing as much heavy machine work on the engines and so forth. And the other part of that is the floor planning, that they don't have as many cars on the lot as they used to. The manufacturers don't want to see 15 different versions of a Ford Explorer in all the colors on the lot. So The trend is for smaller dealerships, which means opportunity for developers. This 19-acre piece that I'm marketing there on the left is available for all kinds of uses. We're talking to fast food operators, we're talking to gas station, convenience store operators, we're talking to hotels, which would be sort of your mid-level, your Marriott suites or your budget. And then we're talking to office building developers that might want to do a garden office, a 3-story garden office. We're also talking about using them for for existing auto dealership, maybe used car dealerships, which still is a fairly popular way to buy cars. The opportunity is to maybe share the site with an auto dealer. Retail and auto dealerships go well together. They're typically on a major freeway with high visibility and easy ingress and egress. So those are all opportunities, I think, for developers. The second property on the right is a Cadillac dealership in Mission Bay in San Diego. It has bay and ocean views. It sits on a main freeway with 290,000 cars a day. So that's a great opportunity for a retailer, for a hotel. So these are the kind of uses that we're going to see coming into these dealerships. And I think that there are other things that we could talk about as well. For example, how you structure those. The expectations of the owners of the property have been an issue, Ralph. We were talking about typically a car dealer might pay between $80,000 and $120,000 a month to lease a property, a car dealership property. Well, we know that that's not possible for a retailer or for an office building. Typically, we would pay $30,000 to $40,000 a month for those type of users. So it's going to be hard for the owners of the property, or in some cases the dealer, to swallow that pill. We just don't have the sales volume to support those kind of rents. The other part is the city municipalities. They're going to have to understand that we can't deliver the sales tax revenue that they were getting from a dealer. That a typical retailer might deliver half or 1/4 of the sales volume that a dealership would deliver, and that's another difficult pill to swallow from the city municipality standpoint.
Well, Tony, clearly there's going to be a whole range of redevelopment issues that crop up, and obviously those are key. Maybe talk a little bit more. I think you've got a slide that kind of talks about some other reuse ideas or opportunities that might help mitigate some of the issues that the municipalities and the owners are going to be dealing with.
Well, first and foremost, what does a dealer do when he shuts down his dealership? What he'll do is he'll typically try to get a temporary tenant in there right away to handle, first of all, security. We've had major problems with vandalism, skateboarders coming on the site. We've had bricks being thrown through these large plate glass windows, and my clients are putting security guards in place. In one case, he even hired the sheriff's department to come in and train police dogs on the site to keep vandals away, and that's worked very well. The main thing is to keep the property in use as long as possible. Temporary uses can be anything from storage of boats to seasonal uses, other automotive uses. In our case, the Cadillac dealership was used as a Toyota dealership while Toyota was doing their renovations down the street. But for a permanent solution, I think it's important to structure some kind of a joint venture. And I say joint venture because land values are typically not what the owner of the property or the dealer is expecting. So we're seeing developers go to these owners and these dealers and work joint venture structures so that they can take the time they need to plan and build a larger facility and highest and best use for that property. And we're seeing office buildings, medical office buildings, residential over retail, and we're seeing hospitality, of course. Hotels are now probably the worst bet from a financing standpoint out there today, but in the future, I think they'll come back, and especially these mid-range hotels along major freeways. So we've seen churches as well.
Let's shift gears a little bit. We got a question from, I think, one of the individuals that's on this call, Richard Hayes with ABM Facility Services, is curious about what you're seeing with when these dealerships are shut down. Are they actually shutting the systems down properly, evacuating fire sprinkler systems and so on, or are they just walking away from them, and what issues does that create?
Typically, we're seeing that they just walk away from them. As I said, the best of all scenarios is a temporary use in there so that the systems can be used again. But I get asked this question all the time, can we reuse the facility? Yes, you can. There are some issues, especially if there's been painting done in the back, if there's been oil changes, engine work. There's some contamination issues that you have to worry about. But for the most part, these properties are going to be scraped. They're going to be reused for various uses, but that's going to take some time. It could take 3 years to get through zoning, municipality, conditional use permits, and all the things that we're used to working with as a development side.
Well, that's we get the double-edged sword here. The dealerships have closed because of the slowdown in the economy, which means the demand for something new may not be there either. So, these are, in some cases, long-term reuse efforts. So I guess if you're going to bring it online in 3 to 5 years, it's probably good to be starting now.
Yeah, and I'd like to say, if I could give advice to developers who are thinking about getting into redeveloping car dealerships, I guess 2 things. One is meet with your local city managers and council people and see what the highest and best use for the site would be. What is it that they would like to see there? What are they going to support? It might take a rezoning. It might take quite a bit of time. It might take a general plan amendment. It might take a complete overhaul of that entire block. In some cases, these dealerships are located within a grouping of dealerships. Those are going to be a lot more difficult to deal with. In some cases, if there's some consolidation or downsizing of some of the dealers, then you might be able to put a retail center on one of the sides of the, for example, mile of cars. You could definitely work within a large grouping of dealerships to do development, but I would say, with patience and going at it, systematically and working with the city municipalities, you'll find that there's going to be a highest and best use for that site. We've had outlet malls, for example, in San Diego do extremely well right next to the mile of cars up here in Carlsbad. Some of the highest volumes for both the retailers and the car dealerships are at that site in San Diego. In some cases, if the dealership is located within the grouping of dealers, there's not much you can do other than reuse the property for auto-related uses again. And again, those are going to be, in my opinion, they're going to be used car dealers. They might be, shops, mechanical shops, things like that. Remember, most of the dealerships are about 50-50 showroom, the other 50% shop for repairing cars. And I think that my advice is, with patience, we're going to have to weather the storm of getting through the construction financing issues that we have out there today, and the fact that there's not as many retailers and tenants looking for new homes today in this economic crisis we're in. But I think in a few years, if we can weather the storm of getting through these times, we can all dance in the rain when we're sitting on these great retail sites that these dealerships present themselves.
Well, I think you're right, and Tony, thank you for your thoughts today. I just yesterday drove by the Valley Auto Mall in Henderson, Nevada, where there are 16 new auto dealers and a CarMax. They're all still open, interestingly, but boy, they're all empty parking lots, and I think we'll see some issues there. But my sense is the real opportunities will be the one-off infill opportunity, the sites that are kind of standalone, and so we'll just see where this leads us in the years ahead. But we definitely appreciate your comments today.
Well,
any other closing thoughts for the developers out there thinking about a reuse?
Just have patience and structure your deals with the owners so that they can continue to use their sites for temporary uses while you go through your entitlement phase. I like to say don't lose all the upside in the project while you're paying interest or option money. I just assume let the dealer have the temporary revenue while we're in there getting our site entitlements done. It's all in how you structure it. Okay.
Great advice. Thank you.
Those are some very, very interesting insights, Tony and Ralph. I think we haven't had a program like this before with so much drill down into understanding an industry and then also understanding, other uses for this type of product. So thank you very much for the information on these shuttered auto dealership properties. And for those of you on the line who'd like to hear the presentation again, it'll be available by close of business today, and it'll be there with all of the past Solution Series programs on the NAIOP corporate website, and that's at naop.org. And you just click on the large button on the front page that says Solution Series. The next Solution Series will air on December 9th, and we will send you an email from NAIOP Corporate that will have the details about the topic and the presenter. And as you see on your screen, if you have any questions for our presenters today, there are their emails, and they have agreed to answer your questions via email. So also would like to tell you we have some webinars that are coming up, and the webinars are a more full educational experience in that they're longer. They're an hour and a half, and you can see the topic that's coming up is a really hot topic about medical office and whether or not it's still a safe haven. Al Pontius will be the presenter, and he is the National Director and extremely knowledgeable about medical office buildings, and he is obviously with Marcus and Millichap. The prices of the webinars have been reduced, and this webinar is $65 for NAIOP members and $95 for non-members. And if you would like to register, you just go to naop.org, or you can make it real easy. Go to naop.org/webinars, and that's how you can click and sign up. I want to thank you all again, to our presenters and also to all of you who attended today, and goodbye for now.